We are so excited to be partnering with Walmart's Black and Unlimited on these very special episodes as we head into Black History Month. Street You Grew Up On is a special place where we come together to unfold our common humanity and reaffirm that every person is the lead character in the story of their own lives. And it all starts on the street they grew up on, the homes, the communities, the worlds. Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is all about supercharging the unlimited potential of Black people and our communities, not only for Black History Month, but every day. I'm so excited for you to hear from some of our guests, Black artists and entrepreneurs and creators, about the communities that supercharged them into being the inspirations that they are today. So here we go. I am crazy excited about our next guest, truly thrilled. She is a writer, a producer, a comedian, an actress. She's from Chicago, Illinois, by way of Iowa. She's the first Black woman head writer of a late night talk show. And she not only created, but also co-starred in an Emmy Award-winning comedy series. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Robin Thede.
Hey, MIJ.
I'm so happy to see you.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm really good.
Thank you for letting me come out to the Queen.
What? You look amazing.
You look amazing.
This is so exciting.
I know.
So I'm really excited to talk to you because I feel like, I love doing the show because we get to talk to people about the street that they grew up on, but also like the street that raised us can be defined in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So you and I have talked about there are many places that raised you.
Yeah.
Which one is the one that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I grew up in a trailer park in Iowa, and I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But there aren't a lot of super happy stories from that time. There's some very uplifting stories from inside my family. But when I think about where I was raised and where I became the woman I am today, I think about 68th and Oglesby on the south side of Chicago.
Wow.
At my grandmother's house, at my grandma and grandpa's house. Yeah, my mom's parents.
To jump in to hear the name of the street that you grew up in, I'm gonna ask you your porn name, which would be the name of your first pet and the street you grew up on.
Oh, my first pet.
Did you have a pet?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the first one. The first one I can remember the name of was Rosebud.
You're already winning the porn game.
Rosebud Oglesby. That porn star sounds 150 years old.
She sounds like the librarian porn. Yeah. You know what I mean? She's that girl.
She rips off the glasses and takes out her hair.
Yes, I love her.
Did someone call Rosebud Oglesby?
Yes.
Or she's like a detective.
Oh, that could, where she's like naked under the trench.
Oh,
yes.
The porn detective. It was a dark and stormy night.
It's very noir.
Rosebud Oglesby was waiting in her office, naked as usual.
I love it.
I like it.
I love it.
like
I'm
it.
in. And Rosebud was
It was a what did my dad call it? A bass eagle?
What?
Half basset hound, half beagle.
A bass eagle. Oh my gosh.
Dumb as rocks. Literally so stupid. We would throw toys at her and they would just hit her in the head and bounce off. She did not, no reflexes, was the cutest thing, but just howled at nothing.
God bless her.
God bless Rosebud.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet.
So we would spend the summer there. My mother is from Chicago originally.
Okay.
And
South side.
West side. West side. She was born on the
Okay.
west side, right next to Cabrini Green.
Oh,
but,
wow.
But then her parents moved to the south side when she was in high school. So yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we would spend so many summers with all of our cousins. And the thing I remember about that house, so Chicago after the Great Fire, right? They rebuilt everything in brick.
Okay.
So I just remember these red brick buildings everywhere. And then her house was the lone single family house on a corner in this very vibrant, beautiful neighborhood on the south side. Wow. And I just remember thinking how much different it was from where I was living.
Where you spent most of your
where
year.
I spent most of my childhood. So it was a really magical place for me. And it was a place where I got to see all my aunts and uncles, my cousins, and that house. So there's this big red brick house with a big porch and a front yard, and we would just play there, and it's where I learned how to cook my grandmother's mac and cheese. It's where, we used to go to the market and snap peas, and, we would help her cook, and And I just remember all of that so fondly.
When did you go? Like as soon as school ended, did everybody
Pretty
pack up?
much.
Did you drive there?
Yeah,
Did you
we would
fly
drive.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was only 2 hours away from where I grew up.
Oh,
So
wow. But it
we
felt
would
like
drive.
a world away.
Oh, completely.
Hmm.
Completely.
Do you remember the drive? Like, do you remember?
Yeah.
First of all, what was the car?
Yeah, we drove an Impala, a
Okay.
burgundy Chevy Impala.
Amazing.
It did not have seatbelts when we were
Right. Of course not. Of course
not.
not.
Have seatbelts.
We are all survivors.
Oh
But
yes, and so
of
we
these-
would take I-80
Okay.
east to Chicago,
And
then
in the car, was there music?
there was always music, and it was always soul music or gospel. And yeah, my dad never really got in charge of the radio. My mom was like, "No, we're listening to
ran
Whitney
that.
Houston."
And who's in the car? It's you, your mom, your dad.
My mom, my dad, and me and my 2 sisters squished in the back seat.
And was there all of that, like, don't touch me? You know, like, because for me, when we took road trips with my cousins, it was like, don't go past this line.
Yeah.
He's touching me. He's touching me. I'm not touching you. I'm not all of that.
All of that. And then I still to this day hate to be poked. And so, because my sisters would poke me in my neck all the time. They think it's hilarious.
Are you the youngest?
I'm
the
in
oldest?
the middle.
Oh.
I'm in the middle. So I was tortured both ways. They would say the opposite, of course.
Yes,
but this is my story now.
Take that, sister.
I know.
Yeah.
And I remember that
Did you
road
sit
trip.
in the middle?
Usually, yeah. Usually. Because I'm the runt of the family. Everyone's super tall.
Oh.
Even my grandmother was like 5'10".
Wow.
So my dad's 6 feet, and his dad was 6'2", I think. Yeah, everybody's tall.
Okay.
And so I remember that drive to Chicago because we would always take the scenic route. We would go all the way to Lakeshore Drive before hitting the south side. And there was this part in Lakeshore Drive that they since have fixed, regrettably, where you would fly over this bump and we would all hit our heads on the ceiling because there were no seatbelts. And we loved it. We loved it. We were like, go fast, go fast. Oh, every time. Every time. Every time. And we knew we were close. We were like 10 minutes away when we hit that bump.
And then when you got there, what were you most looking forward to? Was there like a food that was waiting for you? Or?
Always food. But I think my cousins, my aunts and uncles have a ton of kids. I mean, there would be 15, 20 cousins.
And your age, older,
yeah,
younger?
all around our age. All around our age. It was interesting. My mom is an identical twin.
Oh, wow.
Her sisters are twins, fraternal, and then she had 2 brothers. So there's a ton of kids. And then great aunts and uncles would come down from Detroit, from other parts of Chicago. So it was just huge, huge family.
And was this because you're biracial, this family, was this the black side of your family or the white side?
Yeah, black.
Black
this
side
is my black
family.
side of
Okay.
my family.
And so when you were
Wouldn't that be funny if my white side lived on the south side?
I was like, I don't want to make assumptions. I mean, who knows? Okay. So when you got there, what was the food? Was it different from what you were having back in Iowa?
No, because my mom would kind of cook some of it. But grandma's grandma,
Yeah, it's
so
always different. It's always like,
yeah,
there's just extra love.
Well, my mom grew up in Chicago, but my grandmother grew up in Tennessee, right? So it's
so
lard on the
Southern.
stove, it's fried chicken, it's greens, it's mac and cheese, it's and then even though she really wanted us to eat a lot of vegetables, so we would go to that farmer's market around the corner.
Oh my goodness.
And we would, she called them snap peas, but they were green beans. I don't know why she called them snap peas,
yeah,
but we would
yeah,
snap the ends. And we would be sitting there with a bucket and a brown paper bag, from Jewel Osco, and we'd be putting the ends in there. And then she would let us slice up cucumbers and put a bunch of salt on them. That was like something we loved doing in the summer.
So good.
Yeah.
Like refreshing.
I know, but all that salt. I'm surprised we weren't little kids with hypertension. Yeah.
That's what I remember. What else?
Yeah.
Was there music? Was there?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a record player. There was a piano.
Oh.
She had a piano.
In her house.
In her dining room. And I remember the dining room was very communal. So when you go up the steps, you can go to the right to the formal living room where the custom couches she had made in the late 70s that had plastic on them, of course. And you were not allowed to sit on.
With the plastic?
You could not go in that room.
With the show furniture. So we had a neighbor like that.
The adults could only go in there.
Yes. Everyday actions can make everything change. Visit walmart.com/blackandunlimited to learn more.
We used to always do, we were hams, all of us as kids. And I remember doing Ricky Lake reenactments, like the Ricky Lake show. And we would do like these trashy topics. And we would talk about who's the baby's
panel?
father? No, I was Ricky.
Yeah, of course you were.
I was Ricky,
of course you were.
And then, all my cousins, and we would do that. And I was writing scripts even then. I was
that's
like,
sketch comedy.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't know that,
Wow.
7, 8, 9 years old, that's what I was doing.
Were you watching Ricky Lake in Chicago, or were you watching Ricky Lake in Iowa
Both.
and bringing that? All of it.
I mean, we were obsessed with Ricky Lake.
What else did you, I love it. What else were you watching? What else did you?
Well, I tell you what we could not watch.
Oh, okay.
My grandmother's stories, okay? She was young and the restless till the day she passed.
And she wouldn't let you watch them with her?
No, because there was too much. She wouldn't have said
stuff.
sex. What would she have said?
Romance.
Too much.
Grown folks stuff.
Yeah, just grown folks business. Yeah, exactly. So when her stories were on, which I think was around 11,
Right.
somewhere around there,
Yeah.
I remember. Well, we were supposed to be outside anyway.
Right.
But if it was raining, we needed to go upstairs. Like, you can't be running around when her stories are
Also,
on.
it would be distracting to have you
Correct.
talking and asking
Correct.
questions.
Well, we couldn't be in the living room. That's where the TV was. We couldn't be in there anyway because that's where the plastic on the furniture was. So, but she didn't want us running around.
Yeah,
she didn't want
that
us
was her
doing none of
sacred
that.
time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When she sent you outside, what was that like?
Oh, my God. So fun. So there was this huge front yard. And the house, we realized, I meant to tell you this. My sister and I were reading Michelle Obama's autobiography together. We read it together. And we get through like the first chapter and we call each other and go, she was around the corner from us.
Around the corner?
The Robinsons were around the corner. The street she grew up on
crazy.
was literally a block or two away from where we were at that same
That's
time.
crazy because she was on this show first season. And
Yes.
she talked about riding her bike and just
We probably
going
saw
just
her.
off the street. Yes.
We probably saw her
That's
and her brother.
amazing.
It's crazy to me.
What's the Midwest? Was there a language of South Side?
Yes. Okay. So this is part Iowa, part Chicago. So I'm going to
this
mix
is all
it up.
Midwest
This is all
heartland.
kind of Midwest.
This is a language I do not speak.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start with an easy one.
Oh,
and you have to
say
define
that.
it.
Now I feel really
No,
stupid
no, no. This
when I
is
don't get
super
it.
easy.
Okay.
We called it pop. You would have
Soda.
said. There you go.
Woo!
Easy.
Yes. Okay.
Now it's going to get hard.
Oh God, this is like Jeopardy. It gets harder as you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Butters.
What is that? Butters, like that you put on toast? Butters. That's we used to be like, that's butter, like that's good. Like in the Bronx, like, oh, that's sweet as
Okay,
butter.
that's part of it.
Okay.
Keep guessing and then I'll use it in a sentence.
Like that's I don't know. In a
Okay, so
sentence.
if I say to you, okay, Butters. Oh, your butters are laid.
Butters are laid. Baby hairs?
Your hair.
Wow.
So butters would be your hair. This was a very like Chicago area thing.
Butters.
Very circa early
Butters.
to mid 90s.
Wow.
So you
Where
would
does
say
that come
like,
from?
oh, butters is sharp. I have no idea, but I know we said it.
That's amazing.
Cut to 6 people in Chicago were like, we never said that. Okay, this is easy. This is just a geographical slang. So
Okay.
the wild hundreds.
The what?
The wild hundreds.
Hundreds?
Or hundreds, yes.
Like cash?
Nope.
The wild
So this is
hundred.
related to
Hundred.
Chicago. So I grew up on 68th, so I was above the wild hundreds.
Oh, that's like a neighborhood.
Yep.
What neighborhood is it?
Anything that started with 100 or more.
And was it crazy? Like if it started with 100?
Yeah, the
or more,
wild
was
hundreds
it-
would get, people would get wild down there. But so yeah, anything on the red line would stop at like 129th or 135, I can't remember.
And then
But
past that.
Past that, the red line didn't go.
Oh.
And so, yeah,
that's
the L
wild
train is what
100.
we called it in Chicago, so it was elevated. Yeah, so that was the
Okay.
wild hundred. So if you went down there, you was gonna have a good time.
Okay.
Here's the big one. Now,
Okay.
this is very specific to my high school experience in Iowa, so there's no way anyone who did not go to high school with me would know this. Boosticated.
What?
What? Boosticated.
Boosticated. Does it have to do with stealing? Like boosting?
Not necessarily.
Boosticated.
No.
It's definitely like a state of being if one is boosticated.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So you have
yes, that is. You're very good at English. You're like, by context clues.
I understand
Yeah.
someone becomes
Yeah.
boosticated.
Yes.
Is it like like a boost? Are you elevated
Nope.
in some way?
Actually,
Are
the
you high?
opposite.
Oh.
No.
Boosticated.
But that's a good guess.
You're
It's the
low.
opposite. Yes,
You're-
because something has happened to you.
Oh.
So if you get in a fight and you get beat,
You are
boosticated.
Boosticated.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Mhm. What a terrible slang
Did
word.
you get in fights in high school?
Never.
Never.
Jokes. Jokes got me out of everything.
You got out of it.
I was 89 pounds soaking wet till I was 20 years old. I literally could not fight.
Wow.
I definitely had to get out of things with humor.
So you just burned people with humor.
Yeah.
But no one was ever boosticated.
So I could boosticate him with a joke, for sure.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
Or be moted. Like moted.
Moted?
Did you guys say that?
No. Is that like demoted?
No, it was kind of like, I think it came from like molded, but then we took the L out and then it was just, moted. It was kind of like boosticated. Boosticated and moted are kind of the same. Like,
that's
you
amazing.
Moted. Well, moted is also like you're salty. Like, oh, you
don't be molded today.
Yeah, you molded. Yeah. Or it's just like you calling somebody molded because they got broke up with or whatever. It's like, whatever.
Did you go to Chicago for holidays?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Tell me about, like, what were the holiday traditions?
The dressing, the homemade dressing. We still can't make it.
What do you mean?
So there are two things that my grandmother made that we cannot figure out the recipe.
Oh.
So she didn't write anything down, right? There were no recipes.
Yeah.
And I remember at the end of her life, she was sick, she had cancer, and she was starting to have some dementia. And my sister and my mom made it a point to try to get these recipes from her and write them on cards. And she said, oh, just give me the cards. And she like kind of scrawled the recipes down. But it wasn't real measurements and stuff. So her rolls and her dressing, we have been trying very hard to recreate. She did a cornbread dressing and just like a regular one. But we've never done it the way she could do it. My mom got the rolls really close.
Really?
Really close. They're like hot water rolls, but you have to let it rise for a while.
Yes.
I haven't even tried. I only do her greens and her mac and cheese.
Well, that's a lot. What kind of greens? Is it pork greens?
So I can do them any sorts of ways. So I'm effectively vegan.
Okay.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. That's great.
So the mac and cheese I have to make from memory because I can't taste it. But I still do it right and I haven't been kicked off yet. So I've always been but I've been making it since I was like 13 or 14.
Wow.
And then, so I can do vegan greens. I can do turkey greens.
Is that like one thing you miss being vegan is the mac and cheese or not really?
I don't miss it only because I have a deadly allergy and I'll stop breathing.
Yeah, well then no.
But in theory,
you're like, I'm
miss
good.
It. Yeah. But it's not a choice. I'm not vegan by choice. My body just betrayed me over the years. But I got some really good mac and cheese in for many years.
Yeah. Good. Who was funny in the family? Like, where did you get your funny?
You know what's crazy? Everyone.
Really?
I always say I'm the least funny. My father and I used to watch Saturday Night Live and In Living Color and all that stuff. When I was little. And he was always a fan of comedy. He named me after Robin Williams. He loved him so much. And I don't think my mother knew that until later. Because she was like, I thought you just liked that name.
Wow.
But yeah. And so we got to spend a lot of time together. Because whether it was in Iowa or in Chicago, but particularly in Iowa, outside wasn't necessarily safe all the time. So there was just a lot of time spent with my immediate family. And a lot of that was at the TV. A lot of that was at the TV. And I got to stay up watching Saturday Night Live until Weekend Update. And then I had to go to bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because he was like, don't worry. That's the funniest part.
When did you know you wanted to pursue this in a real way? Like, did you watch Saturday Night Live or In Living Color and think, I could see myself doing that?
2 times I thought that. When I saw Whoopi Goldberg's one-woman show, which we have talked about, I'm obsessed with.
Changed my life.
Changed mine as well.
The whole show memorized beginning, back, front and back.
And then Kim Wayans on In Living Color. She, for some reason, SNL, I remember vaguely seeing Ellen Cleghorn. Yeah, but I don't know. It was like the way that Kim
had such a presence.
And not that Ellen didn't. But, I think on In Living Color, I got to see people writing for themselves and performing for them, their own material.
For us. It was
for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that the greatest thing is having the honor to have told them both Whoopi and Kim, publicly and privately, what that meant. And that, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I don't need to do anything else. I got to tell them thank you. And and they both just kind of say similar things. Like Kim was like, well, you're doing that now. And Whoopi kind of said something like that too. And I'm like,
you are that for somebody now.
That's way too heavy for me to fully grasp, but I won't forget that they said that.
Discover the beauty of Black-led brands because our products and stories are for everyone. Visit walmart.com/blackandunlimited to learn more. No, I think
Yeah.
it's why it's so important. It's why I love having these conversations, right? Because there is some kid who is living in a trailer park and like desperately waiting for the summers where they can be with their grandparent, or growing up on the South Side, or there are kids navigating these things you're navigating that you navigated, and to
Yeah.
know that that was your beginning and that they can follow this path, their version of this
Yeah.
path, right? That what seems to them like a humble beginning or not mattering, or that that's their once upon a time, is so special.
Thank you. I think there's such a misconception, and you know this, that everyone who makes it in
Mhm.
Hollywood has always been rich or is
Yes.
currently rich.
Yes, even the currently is an issue.
The currently is wild.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, very few people are rich.
Yeah.
I
I tell people all the time, after I did Save the Last Dance, I went back to work in a restaurant. I did not make enough money on that movie to pay my bills.
Yeah. I mean, I always think we're so lucky to do what we do. We also work very hard,
Mhm.
but we're all kind of one bad year away from a totally different life.
Yeah.
And I never take that for granted.
Mm.
And in my mind, I'm still that girl in the trailer park waiting to
Mhm.
go to my grandmother's house in the summer. And
Mm.
and I think that will always affect how hard I work,
Mm.
and what I watch my parents build up, because we weren't poor because they didn't work hard. They
Mm.
worked 2 and 3 jobs. They were educators and they
Mm.
worked in teachers unions, and
Mm.
it's why I care so much about our unions now. I mean, it's so crucial because they always did work in service of others. Uh even to the detriment of their own finances. And I
Mm.
think that that's really admirable and something that I certainly um I feel like I've been more selfish in that way,
Mm.
and I've had to like examine why am I, thinking about it in that way, and it's like, oh, it's not selfish. Like they made that life so that I could have this one, and my
That's
gift
right.
to them, is to be able to do anything for them.
Yeah.
They don't want it. They don't want it. I had to secretly pay off their house. Um, I had to pull a real scheme off with and get like business people and lawyers and everything involved because I didn't want them to know because they wouldn't have accepted it.
Mm.
And I called them and they said, "We have to call you back. Something's wrong." The
Someone's
bank,
paid our house.
literally, they were like, "Something's wrong with our mortgage." And I said, "No, I
Oh.
just paid off your house."
Oh, that just gave me chills.
Yeah. And they, yeah, they were just speechless.
But I think that you are, I mean, when I think about what they taught you, I think about the fact that you're not out here just performing for self, that you
Yeah.
have always worked really hard to create work for other people.
Yeah.
That as a producer and a writer, that
Yeah.
you create opportunities for so many actors and other writers and cinematographers and sound
Yeah.
folks and like these crews. You employ lots of people through
Yeah.
your talent. And I feel like that started with you being Ricky Lake, like, but now you're doing that on a
Yeah.
large scale, and it's not selfish.
Well, I had to learn that
Mm.
because I think I always say this, like the first 6, 7 years, I was working with other like sketch groups and improv groups and stuff like that. But I was just like, I need to get auditions so I can star in a show.
Mm.
And once I let that go and really started pouring into my writing for other people, and then I realized, oh, there's a lot of power in this. And then once I started head writing and doing all of these other things, I was like, oh, I can hire people. I can actually give them the opportunities. I had to work so, so, so hard to just get that first foot in the door.
Mhm. But now the room is yours. Like you're
Now the
opening the
room is
door for
mine. Now I
somebody
get to
else.
I know people always go, how do you cast your shows? Like, how do you get so many celebrities? I'm like, I've known these people forever.
Forever.
I've been here forever.
Yes.
But it's true. And
Yeah.
I've told you this privately, but I also don't cut this out.
We'll cut it out.
No, do not cut it out. I'm so grateful because I always tell people that about you is that it's true. I would be backstage schlepping at award shows for like a decade, by the way.
Yeah.
And you would be coming glamorous and amazing and presenting at these award shows. And I'm like, hi, here's your jokes. And you're like, hey, girl.
I was so happy to see
But
you.
you would address me by name.
Mm.
And that blew me away.
Well, there weren't a lot of us back
I know,
there.
but it didn't matter. Like it meant so much to me.
Mm.
It meant so much to me because I felt seen.
Mm.
And without being seen, I didn't know that I belonged.
Mm.
And it's like, I felt like I had a place. I knew I had talent. I knew I was funny. But I know a lot of funny people who have never stepped foot in any of the amount of things that I've been able to do.
Yeah.
So being seen as a peer, even in that way, in that small way, was really, I don't know if it was as a peer at that time, but like being acknowledged, like for even being a person.
Yeah.
I was in a writer's room where I was just called the girl writer for a year. I
Oh
wasn't even
my
addressed by my
goodness.
name. So to have Kerry Washington being like, oh, hey, Robin, good to see you again. I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
it really, really meant a lot to me. And that kind of impact is what I now take with me. I really do. Whenever
Yeah.
I meet actors, writers, I mean, of course, when I go backstage and there's writers there, I'm
Yeah.
always like, hey, how's it
That's your
going?
world.
Yeah, always,
Yes,
always.
yes.
But to be seen in that way meant a lot. And I hope I can pass that on too, because I know what it meant for
Yeah,
me.
you do.
Yeah.
What would you say to that little girl in that car?
Yeah.
You know, maybe like the little girl on the car ride back to Iowa at the end of the
Oh,
summer.
wow.
What would you say to her?
You know, it's funny that I talked about the bump and us hitting our heads
Mhm.
and still enjoying the ride anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful metaphor that is. There's going to be bumps. Sometimes life's going to go fast. Sometimes you're going to get stopped in traffic. You might get detoured, you know, but you're always going to make it to that destination.
If you could take one thing from Oglesby into your
Yeah.
life now, it could be like a person, an object, a feeling.
The sad answer is more time with my grandparents, but that piano might be nice. I don't know where it went. I know my mother kept the china hutch. She still has that. And a marble table that I think we broke. But you know what? I already have my grandmother's hat.
For more information about Black-led brands, products, and my memoir, Thicker Than Water, visit walmart.com/blackandunlimited. This is about hearing the details of your once upon a time, right? So that other people know that they too are the lead character of the story of their life, and that you haven't always been rich and famous, that you come from somewhere and someplace and some people.
Yeah.
So how
Thank you for calling me rich and famous. I very much appreciate it.
You are. You are.
Kerry Washington called me rich and famous.
You are
Hey,
rich and
Mom.
famous and beautiful and talented and amazing. How would finish this statement? Like, how would the beginning of your story start? Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, a little girl dreamed she could be anything. And she was dumb enough to believe it.
I love
And it worked.
that. And it worked.
It's so interesting because I look at my nieces and nephews, and my sister and I always talk about how they're growing up in this fantastic life. Everyone does well. My sister is in education. My older sister's in education. My younger sister runs a nonprofit that helps homeless teens get back into the workforce. My mother was obviously in the state house in Iowa for 14 years. Like, my dad has been in service to students and at-risk kids for his whole life. Like, my whole family is in service of others.
Winning.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
And
service.
So I think that's why my career became more about employing others. And that's when I started to feel really fulfilled and less scared. When it stopped becoming solely about me.
And your fame.
Correct.
Yes.
And it wasn't what can I book next? It was what can I create so I can work with these amazing people?
Yes.
And there's all these great people I want to work with. And there's all these people who I've either written for or want to.
Yeah.
And then being able to still step into my own on-camera roles as well. Because
But isn't it amazing when you come to work and somebody says to you, like, their kids going off to college, and you know that as a producer, you helped make that possible, that there are these, that we're thriving together.
Yeah.
I love that we get to be part of an art form that's not alone in a room by ourselves, that we're part of these communities, like the community you grew up in, you know, that you're playing together, creating together.
Yeah. And that helps lessen the fear.
Yeah.
You know, that quiets it.
Yeah.
So once I learned that helped. And now I just have to personally balance more.
You will. When it matters. When it matters enough to you.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if I'll never settle down personally. I'm going to be young George Clooney all my life. No, I don't know.
We'll see.
Well, he settled down, so maybe.
Yeah, he
But
did.
yeah, I've been married to my career for the longest. But I think that had to be. I've always felt like even in the bad times, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I've never questioned that, you know? which is even dumber that I have that fear, because if I feel confident in that, what is that, right?
Yeah. Well, that I think is part of the magic of the show too, is that like you can look back and say things were tragic and things were traumatic and things were hard. And I know that's true for all of us in different ways. We're
Yeah.
all navigating some part of our past, but it got us here.
Yeah.
It got us here.
That's what I was going to say about my nieces and nephews. We look at them and they say, wow, they're living such a like soft life, which is what we want for them. But I'm like, ugh, are they going to be as driven as, but I think they will be. I think they will be because they want to maintain that lifestyle. So I think that's a good cycle.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. You don't want them to have trauma and hardship, but at the same time, you want them to appreciate it. So I guess that's got to always be a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that it can be, you know, when you come from complicated places, it can be hard to have these conversations. So
No,
I'm
but this
so
was nice to pay
grateful.
homage to my
Yes.
grandparents and you know, so many people contribute to your village.
So many
right?
places raise you.
Yeah.
It's really true.
And even the bad times are, like we said, make us who we are. But I think this is what my way of honoring the ancestors that are now guiding me.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job. Yay! I love that Robin reminded us that there can be a lot of different places that raise you and make you who you are. There are all kinds of streets that we grow up on, and Chicago gave Robin the laughter and love and confidence and community that she really needed to become who she is today. So I'm grateful to Robin. I'm grateful to you for tuning in and watching. If you loved this episode, make sure that you like and subscribe. Continue to spread the word. If you want to hear more about the street that I grew up on, remember that you can read my memoir, Thicker Than Water. I'm just so grateful that you're here and that you're tuning in, and I hope to see you again soon.